Top of the morning, brother. What the fuck? Uh, hey man, so I didn't really plan on doing this, but I wanted to talk about not the so the video I just did was going over the plot of The Signal. I couldn't really do that video without giving you the background for what I see in that movie. And so, there are a lot of people that can't, I'll say, listen to that. And I have to remind myself when I look at the analytics that essentially the powers that be are sabotaging channels. It's not just my channel. I do know that. I have a brother who tells me about his stuff being sabotaged also. I don't think it's because of what I'm talking about or what we're talking about. I think what's actually happening is they're just greedy. So there are a bunch of bots that are on, YouTube. I'm not going to fucking shy away from it. There are a bunch of bots that I think they actually employ that will watch the video for a few minutes and then leave. And I think that's supposed to boost your view count, which actually no longer matters. And then it takes your watch time down. And that's one of the milestones is your watch time. So I have to remind myself of that. But I wanted to come back and talk about the esoteric stuff that's in that movie now that I've gotten all the plot points out of the way. I've talked about the concept of a farm planet, prison planet, experimentation planet before, and this movie directly kind of discloses a lot of those things. And here's what I feel like. I think that it's very uncomfortable for most to come to the realization that the comforts that we all try to cling to at some point in our lives, many of those are fabrication. They're not the truth. When you hear the truth, many people get uncomfortable, understandably, but like there are distinctly different responses to that. My response is I want to know more so that I can prepare to do something. I'll just say to do something. You know what I mean? And others are like, no, that's not true. That's not true. That they wouldn't do that. And I mean, I don't know how much needs to be provided to show that that is not the case before those beings kind of snap out of it. Yesterday I posted a very short clip, so if you have a short attention span, you can watch this video and you won't, it's not long. But it's, I think it's either Senate, I think it's the Senate, or it's Congress, but they're voting on the legality of putting that thing from 2020 into the food and other ingestible and not just ingestible, but just into things. They're talking about the legality of putting that into things, and not just that, but those in general, those types of pharmaceuticals into food. And I'm sure that would clear it for water. One of the senators also mentioned tobacco products. So, I don't post those things to try to like stoke fear out of you all. I'm not just talking. I'm not just saying these things. I am literally doing research into a whole plethora of shit. And then the things that I find, I share them with you because it feels like my obligation. It feels like my duty to share those things so that you're also aware of them. I can't control whether that makes you fearful or makes you feel like I feel, which I try to be careful, sort of, with how with how I talk about how it makes me feel, because I don't want to, get arrested or, I'm not a terrorist or any of that shit. I'm not telling anyone ever to go do anything to any officials or buildings or anything like that. In fact, I think that's stupid. If you go and do something wild and dumb, you're not going to accomplish anything. That accomplishes nothing. I will continue to say that civil disobedience, civil, just stop participating. Don't participate. Don't buy anything. We could, essentially, we all need to agree on a time period, not a day. I keep hearing people say a day. That's not long enough. At least a week, if not 2 weeks, where everyone says we're not going to go to work and we're going to do our best to not participate in the economy. That doesn't mean that we can't go to each other for help or that we can't go get things if we need them. It just means that we would be leaning on each other, on our family, friends, and neighbors. And if we need to go get something, we go get it in whatever way we need to do that. But yeah, anyway, that video is very informative. You should know about it. If you don't, this is why these things are able to happen, because no one's paying attention until the thing actually happens, and that is too late. Preparedness is important. 5 P's: proper preparation prevents poor performance. Get it cracking. So this movie, though, the disclosure that's in this movie is on a level that not many movies are actually willing to go to. When I and others talk about simulation theory, every time I bring it up, people think that they're being intelligent when they respond and they say, well, I could maybe see this being a digital reality, and then they keep going on that. That is not what simulation theory means. That is a form of simulation theory. That's not the theory that I'm working on. I'm working on my own simulation theory. It rained yesterday, so I'm going to be sniffling this whole video. By the way, I need to start doing this at the top of the videos instead of the end, because people don't make it that far. If you would like to contribute to my research, donate to my research, and the channel, the PayPal is in the description of the video. It's also in the description of the channel. If you'd like to, ask questions, or if you have suggestions, or if you'd like to participate in a study or participate in something, dream show, whatever, the email is gammaauobsidian, gammaauobsidian @gmail.com. Same thing for the Instagram, gammaauobsidian. And it's very much appreciated. If you do happen to donate, ask a question, ask some questions. If you want to participate, you would definitely get an ear from me either way. But if you donate, I want to give my gratitude in some sort of way other than words. So I would definitely entertain your ideas. And even if you're not donating, I appreciate good conversation. I appreciate, contribution. Speaking of which, not to go too deep off in the weeds, but I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but hopefully it's okay. I Love Free Ski. I Love Free Ski had some comments on a post that I did yesterday, that I did maybe 2 days ago, about some samples I took from collected rainwater. And I showed 3 pictures of different scale of what was left after that rainwater was naturally dried. No heat, naturally dried. And it's horrifying and gross. And it's in the community section, 3 pictures. And I Love Free Ski, made a correlation between something else that's been found in the environment. And they spoke about it. They let us know they were going to do it before they did it. It's I believe it's a bacteria that eats plastic. It's not, I don't believe it's a fungus. It may be a fungus though, because they have been fucking around with funguses a lot. But it eats plastic. and it has been released into the environment. They said they were going to use it commercially, meaning like in industrial plants and factories and trash dumps and stuff like that. But many times, and they are aware of this, you can't keep those types of things segregated. You can't keep them segregated. They will travel on the air, on people, on animals, on deliveries, on transported materials, waste. It's going to travel. You know, you can't keep those things like that. So essentially, there are things like that that are just ticking time bombs that we're waiting to see how nuts that's going to get. And so I really do appreciate that comment. And also was talking about a microscope. I have a microscope. I have really bad experiences with some of the other stuff that's also in the environment. I responded to your comment and let you know, what I'm talking about. I didn't say that I'm freaked out by it, but essentially I have a microscope and I have some samples of this stuff that, I've posted. It's even the thumbnail on a couple of my videos. Those videos are in the Black Goo playlist. And I think in my documentation playlist also. Yeah. But I'm trying to build up the scientist in me to just get those samples. And I don't know about doing experimentation, but I am building up the scientist in me to take some samples, put them under the microscope so that you can see what that stuff looks like. It's going to look different than my samples because those samples were fruiting bodies. So those were nanobots / anthrobots that have formed bigger structures that move and do processes. They respond to frequency and do things, and they kind of essentially when they form in that way, they act like insects. They look sort of like insects, but not really, not any insect that you've seen before. And they're very, very small. You can see them if you really train your eyes to look for them flying around and stuff. But it could also look like dust to you if you don't think, hey, that doesn't look like dust floating. That looks like something flying with intention. But yeah, I'm building up to that. I probably am going to do it because, now that there are more paying attention to the channel and to the videos, I think that it would be more beneficial. When no one was watching the videos, I wasn't about to willingly put myself through something that I'm already going through to a further extent. That's essentially what I'm doing, is bringing it back into my house and potentially taking the risk and having to deal with that for a foreseeable amount of time. Because not only because I would be bringing it into the house, but then they're self-replicating. So you don't need to bring more into the house for there to be more soon after that. You see what I'm saying? So once it gets into your house, which you don't have a lot of control over, so I'm kind of being a bitch about it. But once they get into your house, self-replicating. So yeah, I appreciated those comments, and that gave me some encouragement, and then a bunch of, documentation from my experiments. So, I don't know. I may try that. Said his name. I'm not going to say his name unless I said that I wouldn't say his name unless I saw him continue to take from this channel. But I did technically I did kind of put the name out there, but I haven't said it. So technically I'm sticking to my word. Anyway, so yeah, I did appreciate that. And again, let me know if the Patreon is something that others are interested in, because there's a lot of stuff I don't say. There's a lot of stuff that I don't post or show, because, there's not a lot of protections here on YouTube. And I'm trying to build the channel and not provoke to the point of getting deleted. I do provoke, I do say things, and I do talk to them directly sometimes. Not YouTube, but, you know, the powers that be, I do talk to them directly. I call them fuckboys and pusillanimous and all kinds of shit. But, you know, showing what I'm talking about, that's a whole other animal, you know? So I would rather do that on Patreon if I'm going to do it. I may put up some stuff, but, you know, my hands are kind of tied there, where this is the best avenue for finding funding and for getting donations, both small and large, for my research. So I don't want to ruin that. I don't want to fuck that up. Just how science works right now. You know, you'd think that the work that I'm doing would be important to all of us, because it is, but, you know, that's just not how society works currently. So yeah, if you would respond, that would be really cool. There are a good number of people that watch these videos, not many comment. I get it, anonymity or, you know, whatever, maybe you don't have anything to say, but I would very much appreciate an answer to this. Should I, should I do the Patreon? Is anyone interested in that? And then, B, is it even worth... I don't want to bring that shit in my house again if no one cares, or if everyone's like too scared to see it, you know? I know what it is. I know that it's there. They have told us that it's there, but it is interesting to see. And if you need evidence, you know, if you need more evidence, because I've already provided evidence and the documentation, the patents and whatnot, then let me know in the comments, please. Or an email if you want to do that, I guess. I don't know why that would be any better, but anyway, so back to that was a huge digression, but it needed to be done. Back to the movie. I've talked about a prison planet, farm planet, zoo planet before. This movie directly references that. By the end of the movie, you realize that this whole time you've been thinking that this is one version of reality, meaning that they're just on their way to California. And, you know, they make a detour to this house, this shack in the middle of the desert. And that part may be true. You know, I kind of think that... So within my theory, I think something at some point happened, and potentially I or we were transported to a different place. That is not at all hard to accomplish. All you gotta do is knock somebody out. Knock them out to where they cannot wake up, and then time them waking up to be a natural time. And if you have an environment that very much resembles what they're used to, they're not going to know. Or if you have a synthetic or simulated environment that they're, you know, looks like what they're used to, it would take them a fairly long time to find that out, depending on how good your simulated, you know, environment is. And that is essentially what happens in the movie. So, you know, I feel like I said, it feels like soft disclosure to me. It's not to say that everything in the movie... Whatever. I'll just have to pay attention to the camera because I'm not doing that. And so, you know, it's something where even if it's just a few beings that you do this with over time, and, you know, that would be a specific group of beings. I've been talking to you this entire time. I've been saying, I'm looking for you. I want to make, you know, contact with you and discuss, you know, your experience and share with you my experience and so on and so on. And, you know, figure some stuff out, figure what's going on out, because it's very, very, discombobulating. It's very confusing. It's very, torturous at times. And, I think that discourse and discussion and comparing notes could really help make sense of some things. This is the best way that I've been able to find to try to attempt to do that. But to, you know, for all I know, I'm just laying it all out in this video. For all I know, I'm the only one, you know, and I'm just talking to aspects of this place, of this, like, whatever it is, terrarium, enclosed and heavily um, heavily simulated environment. And essentially, so when I say when those of us that talk about this stuff say simulation, that doesn't mean digital. It doesn't mean a computer. It doesn't mean like the Matrix movie. You know, you're in a pod. It doesn't mean that necessarily. That is a potentiality for sure. That's a potentiality, and some things that happen can make you feel like that's what it is, right? But that's not necessarily the case. There are technologies that many of us are aware of that way more of us are not aware of. And those things can seem like magic. They can seem like, oh, what the fuck? But if you are aware of the experimentation and the innovations to technology that have been disclosed, they're not secrets, they've been disclosed, and they've been in experimentation and in development, research and development for decades, as far as the documentation goes and as far as the declassification goes. And so many things that people think are fucking magic or aliens or something like that, they say they have it. They say they've been working on it and doing R&D on it, and just not many people pay attention to those things. That's why I try to come to you and I'm like, hey, here's a document saying they've been using this. And all kinds of stuff, fake vampire invasions, zombification protocols, cloaking devices, stuff that makes you think you've been in contact with aliens, stuff that makes you feel like you've been abducted by aliens. These are all technologies that are not at all secret. Many of them are not new. These aren't new technologies. They've been in R&D for long, long periods of time. In fact, a lot of what we hear as far as like abduction or experiencer stories, that's not aliens, bruh. Just straight out, that's not aliens. And as I've said before, regression therapy has kind of pulled that to the forefront of these experience stories. You know, they start off with one version of the story, and then when they do regression or they do some other type of revealing therapy, it comes out that there are people standing around. There are people holding helmets and masks. There are, sets, like movie sets. Like, hey, take him in here, make sure he wakes up, sees us doing some shit, and knock him the fuck back out. Like, these are things that happen. And so you have to be able to take in all of this data and understand, like, this is vastly different than what it's being represented as. It's vastly misrepresented. And so, again, when we say Matrix, or at least when I say Matrix, I'm not, I like Donald Hoffman, but when he keeps talking about a headset, I'm starting to wonder now, you're a scientist, so are you like some kind of controlled opposition? Because I get the theory, and I like the theory as a possibility, but to only investigate the holographic representation of simulation theory, to me, is very, it's not covering all the bases, because I don't want to be offensive. I like the man's work. I've studied the man's work, but it's not covering all the bases. You can still cover holographic theory while also, going down the path of a different version of simulation. Because to all of us, this place feels real. It feels real, the way that it that you interact with it feels real. It's just very recently that it has been, a topic of discussion that this is some kind of simulation or matrix. Some of us, very few of us, have always kind of felt that, but I don't think many of us spoke about it because that at the time would have sounded nuts. Even now, some of us get called nuts for even contemplating or investigating this, which I don't, what's the reason, what's the problem with us investigating that, as long as we're not going out in public and like doing terrible things because we think this is a video game, which again, that is stupid. Do not do that. That is fucking dumb. I think there's been a story or two of someone going out into the world, into the, realm, and doing shit and saying this was Grand Theft Auto or some stupid shit, or there's definitely memes of it. You're morons. Stop doing that. That's not helping anyone. Not everything needs to be fucking content. You know, chill out. But, you know, I'm not trying to say that Donald Hoffman and those that are studying that aspect of have, you know, salaries. They have all these things to their advantage, and I'm just doing this with no budget. I'm doing this fully off of donations that I get very few of. I'm putting my neck on the line, literally, because as you can see by them fucking around with this video, they apparently don't like me talking about this openly. And, you know, it affects me physically, you know, fucking around with aspects of this place and trying to figure out what that is and what it's doing here and why it's doing the things it does. I have to deal with that afterward. After I show you the thing, like, hey, this is what this looks like under the microscope, I can't just throw that away. It doesn't just go away, you know, without going deep into it. I've gone into it before. I believe it's in the Black Goo playlist or the document. It's in both Black Goo and documentation playlist in certain videos, but I would do this anyway because it affects me, but at the same time, I don't know that I would do it to the extent that I have done it before and potentially will do again. But I feel an obligation and a duty to contribute, because I don't see many others contributing in this specific way. I see others that will wait for you to finish your research and steal it for money like a piece of shit, but I don't see many that are actually doing the research. They'll imply that they are, but they're not actually doing anything. You know, I'm not gonna let that get me deep off into that. Fuck that dude, man. I don't like that. I don't like that. Yesterday I was listening to Archaics, and dude kept going at another kind of piece of shit in my eyes, Billy Carson, and I kept being like, chill out, bro. Just kind of stick to your presentation. But I get it, dude. When you come across someone like that and you feel like they're kind of personally slighting you, because what he feels is that Billy Carson is misrepresenting, you know, an entire subject. And, you know, Jason Brashears has put a lot of work into that subject, and he's presented it, and Billy Carson not only like is misrepresenting it, but he's getting more eyeballs for doing that. And then he's selling all these dumb products and classes and services that suck and are not truthful. And that feels like a personal slight. So I get that. So I can't even say, man, chill out. I can't tell him to do any of that, because every time I talk about specific things, it reminds me of that theft in that person and what type of person they are. And it just it irks me. It gets to me. Anyway, you know, there are aspects of this place that are very, very, very well crafted. And they're not this big clunky thing that's going to hit you over the head or shoot you with a laser and you can see it. And there's a secret Achilles heel that, you know, helps you save the day, and then the movie's over, roll credits. That's not what we're in. That is not what we're in. Those movies, there is soft disclosure in them, but then they give you illusions of things that are not the case. They give you illusions of things that are not the case. This is not that type of story. This is something that will take a good bit of work and research and experimentation and, you know, cloak and dagger. This isn't something where, you know, you can just step into it and be ready. And I've never had the illusion of that. I'm preparing myself, and I'm trying to help others prepare, but not many want to hear or pay attention, and that's fine. But, you know, I feel like this is one of those kind of like situations where retroactively, you know, others are going to be like wanting to step in and be like, oh, I'm with you. And that's fine, but at the same time, it's going to feel away, and I can't pretend that it's not going to feel away. especially if it's a situation where like, oh, I remember you. You know what I mean? Not to say that that even would be possible, but it might be possible. Who the fuck knows, you know? But you know, even in the realm of like experimentation, the movie shows you just how cold and unempathetic the experimentation is. Like doing shit just to fuck with you and see what you do in response. They kept saying agitate. Are you agitated? Agitate. In their experimentation and in their like kind of interviewing while doing the experimentation, they kept saying, are you agitated? And it's like, on one level, I try to see things from different points of view, different vantage points. On one level, it could be gently raising the level of agitation to see, you know, adversity activate divinity. I thought about that. I did think about that. It could very well be that, both in the movie and in whatever this is. But I always have to remind myself, and by way of that, I always have to mention when I say this, that a lot of the things are malicious. It's not gentle. It's not without hazard. It's not without pain. It's not without emotional scarring or trauma. Some of this shit is really fucked up. And that's not the same thing as agitating on different levels. I mean, and maybe that's how, you know, it or they or whatever choose to experiment. Like, you know, gentle, gentle, gentle. All right, get him. Gentle, gentle, gentle. Get him. You know, like maybe it's that. But that doesn't, as the subject, that wouldn't make you feel any better about it. That doesn't make you feel any better about it. I would go so far as to say disclosure, full on, straightforward disclosure. Hey, this is what we are doing to you or to you all. Not necessarily saying publicly, but just direct to those subjects. This is what is happening. And I understand that the point of that could be changed if it was disclosed in that way, but I don't know. I mean, I don't have a good answer for that. I'll be honest. And maybe that doesn't provide enough reason to give said disclosure. And maybe from that vantage point, from that other vantage point, the movies and music and articles and so on and so forth, the puzzle is disclosure from their vantage point. You know, that's kind of what I'm working off of right now as far as theory goes. That's being viewed as disclosure. And to me, that's kind of shitty. But, you know, you take what you can get and you analyze it and make sense of it. And you kind of have to realize and step into the concept of, okay, well, I just can't care what others think about that, you know? But essentially, I guess what I'm saying, one of the things I'm saying is that simulation theory is not just digital, you know, consciousness projecting or, you know, digital non-material stuff. It can very much also be simulated environment with the use of technologies, some projection technology, some holographic technology within an enclosed space, a terrarium. That's why I keep calling this a terrarium. I'm not saying I'm in a terrarium that is a digital or holographic thing. I'm saying that from my vantage point, from my experimentation and whatnot, and from what makes sense to me in the soft disclosures, putting all these things together, I see just as much of a potential for a simulated environment, not a simulated experience. And that might not be the best way to say it even, but like, I'm not, you know, my theory that I'm building currently, it's not holographic, at least not entirely. It's kind of, think of the concept of the war room in X-Men. You know, they step into this room. It's a training facility. Everything is all white, or all, you know, similar tone. I think it was white or gray or something like that. Something very muted. And then when they turn it on, they have surroundings. They have adversaries to train on. They have, you know, even that isn't fully what I mean, because that just facilitates the enclosed space, the controlled space. With this, it would be a mixture. It would be a mixture of the two concepts. So there would be holographic stuff, and not holographic in the sense of like not being able to be touched or felt, you know, but simulated, you know, and also physical things, physical beings, potentially physical objects, food, water, all kinds of non-simulated things, even though you could argue that those things are sort of at least synthetic at this point. And my thing is that's so important because it takes a drastic turn from what many are talking about when they talk about simulation theory and the concept of us being maybe not where we think we are, or who we think we are, or what we think we are, or when we think we are. And in my vantage point, this is important theory. It's important theory. It's important research, and very obviously, it's being stifled. And that when things like that happen, both to me and to the research, it lets me know that I'm on to something. And maybe in prior years or prior times, I would have had something happen to me, and given the implication that it's because I'm looking into something, and I would have said, you can have it, I'm done. But so many things have been done to me that's over. That possibility is out. That possibility is out. Nothing is going to get me to relent. You know, too much has been done to me. So, this is what I'm doing. This is my work. And regardless to if I receive any support or help, I'm gonna keep trying. And, you know, it may take me longer because I have less resources or less equipment, or I have, you know, those that are in my direct vicinity running interference, whether it be, you know, consciously or through some sort of manipulation. Doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck, you know. And I mean that, even if it's to points of a situation where I'm not even able to share the research anymore. I'm still going to do it. So I thought that this movie was important to share and to give my thoughts on, because I see people who are interested, but they still don't get it. They still don't get what I am saying. And I won't say I and others. I'll say me, what I am saying. I'm trying to give you another potential vantage point for what this is, because though I can see the possibility, not probability, but possibility of a completely holographic experience where, you know, this is your consciousness being projected in here and all that old stuff. But I also see not very much evidence of that. Whereas what I'm talking about, I'm providing evidence. I'm providing evidence for what I'm saying. I'm providing tangible and outside documentation and resources for the things that I'm talking about. And so, you know, I'm trying to navigate this, and he's still working. He's just, you know, I can relate to that. If something like that was going on for me, you know, it doesn't really apply for me, but if something like that was going on for me, like if something was going on with a family member or something, I was going to say I wouldn't do that, but I would also respond. So that resonates with me, and I was very appreciative, and hopefully, you know, hopefully something good comes of that email. Let's, you know, hope with me, you know? But yeah, man, there's a lot that I could say about this movie. I said some of it last night in the first part, but I really wanted to drive home what I was saying because I realized after watching the video that I spent so much time on the plot itself that I didn't really give this part. And so I think it's good that way because in order to understand these things that I'm saying, you either need to watch the movie or you need to have, a presentation of what happens in the movie to really get the things that I'm saying and why I call it soft disclosure, heavy soft disclosure. There are so many aspects of it that you can point to that are like, oh, so you're talking about this thing. And it's not just the end of the movie. It's throughout the entire movie. You just have to have, I guess, gone through it or have somebody that you know that has gone through it or be a very, very serious researcher that isn't just looking for things that you experience yourself. I think that's a big issue within the communities that look into these things and call themselves truth seekers and stuff. You're only looking for things that you think directly affect you. And you're not looking into the things that directly affect you. Politics are not real. Politics are not fucking real. They might seem like it's real. And some of it, yeah, okay, so you can carry a weapon in your state and not in your state. That's real. I get that. But on a grand scheme, in totality, politics, that's a play. That's a show. A lot of it is not actually affecting your experience. It's just being said to you that it is. They'll do whatever the fuck they want. That's not real. These things that I'm looking into, you can see them in your vicinity. You can see them within your radius. And I find that to be far more important than fucking fake celebrities and fake politicians and musicians and shit. I listen to music, I watch movies and stuff, but as far as their personal lives go, I could give two fucks about that. That's all. It's just another movie. You think that you're getting, behind the scenes information and stuff, and maybe some of it is, but a lot of it, you're being allowed to see it. You're being allowed to find it. Think about that for a second. It's not a secret. They're not spilling a secret or spilling the beans. You're being allowed to see that. They can kill stories if they want, all that shit. Fixers. They have fixers. If something's not supposed to get out, it's not going to get out. Those people kill people and fuck hookers and do drugs and shit all the time. You don't know anything about it. Anyway, I guess I'm getting a little greasy on this one, so I think I am done. I don't want there to be another Signal video. I want to be, to and done with it, but there's not too much else I think I can say. I don't want to unveil the whole thing for you. Part of the reason why I have this format is because I see other channels that try to do all of the work for you and present that. And though I think that's helpful, sometimes I'm doing it in a way that hopefully it gets you going. It stokes an interest or a sense of urgency or obligation within you, and you do your own research. I do provide a lot of documentation and a lot of examples and a lot of research and so on, but I'm also doing this in a way that evokes something in you to do your own research so that you can see these things for yourself that I have found. And potentially find things that I haven't found, and maybe you'll share them with me. Email, whatever. But I appreciate you making it this far.